Tonight, a Hazelwood mine fire citizens' health report taken to Parliament. Disabled, unemployed get a taste of working life. And the 10th man to walk on the moon enthralls students. Good evening, I'm Bruce Roberts. Also tonight, traffic chaos after a bus crash. Community group Voices of the Valley has handed over its Citizens' Health Report on the steps of Parliament today. It comes as the opposition pledged to reopen the Hazelwood mine fire inquiry if elected.
The group took its campaign from the Latrobe Valley to the steps of Parliament this afternoon.
We've come here today to hand over a community health report to say to the government, here are the stats that we have from the birth, deaths and marriages.
The statistics suggest an increase in the number of deaths during the period of the mine fire. In an online statement, the Department of Health said the data is not supported by the registry figures. It's added there is no evidence that data provided by the registry shows anything other than yearly variability.
David Davis continues to say that the death rates that we're producing are incorrect. We know that they're true.
The group is calling for the mine fire inquiry, which delivered its final report 2 weeks ago, to be reopened.
All the people affected and all other stakeholders had every opportunity to present information to that inquiry.
We will reopen this inquiry because no inquiry can have properly done its job if it doesn't investigate the deaths of up to 11 people.
The move is backed by Voices of the Valley, which is also asking for a coronial investigation into 11 probable deaths that it says occurred during the mine fire.
When it's to deal with deaths, certainly above that of the normal death rates, that would be a coroner's decision, and the Chief Health Officer and ourselves will wait for the coroner to have a look at that probability.
Alexandria Dadzimarkis, Win News.
There are just 4 sitting days left this year, and in these dying days, the noise is deafening.
Under this government, we've increased the scope of that.
Order!
Outside Parliament, a group from the Latrobe Valley were also trying to be heard. They're worried about the health impact of the coal mine fire at Hazelwood.
People were dying suddenly, rather than the normal tragically or after a long illness. They were dying suddenly.
Inside, opposition leader Daniel Andrews took up the fight.
Our deaths in the region during and following the Hazelwood mine fire, 11 additional deaths according to Associate Professor Barnett.
The Premier denied any spike in fatalities.
The deaths in February-March were 19% below the 5-year average.
The issue dominated a rowdy question time with 2 opposition members evicted from the House.
It's an absolute disgrace and a slight on those people. We took it seriously. The workers involved took it seriously.
At this time of the year, the state government drops a wide range of annual reports. For the most part, these glossy report cards declare what a good job government bodies have done throughout the year.
Order!
Spring Street shouting resumes tomorrow. Mark O'Brien, 10 Eyewitness News.
Morwell residents have protested on the steps of Parliament calling for a coronial inquest into deaths linked to the Hazelwood mine fire. They claim there's been a spike in lives lost since February.
There is no suggestion of a statistical variation in between the deaths over that period.
This government should accept responsibility for the fact that when the people of Morwell needed them most, they simply weren't there.
The opposition says it will reopen the mine fire inquiry if it wins office.
Meanwhile, Labor used question time to attack the government for its response to the Hazelwood mine fire, focusing much of its attention on Health Minister David Davis.
The question related to whether he supports or rejects
Leader of the
arrogance of his Health Minister.
Right from day one, we as a government took this fire seriously.
Gippsland residents were in Parliament calling for the coroner to investigate claims the region's mortality rate has risen in the wake of the fire. Andrew Lund, 9 News.
Morwell and Tarralgon fire stations have been presented with plaques in recognition of their work with fire and rescue crews from New South Wales during the Hazelwood mine fire. Fire and Rescue Chief Superintendent Mal Connellan says the joint effort by local and interstate relief crews during the blaze was unprecedented.
We deploy interstate as a discrete group for bushfire fighters, but not in an urban setting, so this is the first time we've done that. And even though we all do the same thing, we all are slightly different. It's been great learning on both sides.
The fire service across the world is one massive family, and it's at times like this that that family really comes together, and those guys really came and support us.
More than 200 New South Wales firefighters were deployed to Victorian stations during the mine fire to provide relief to crews.